Hello my friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Novella. Today is Sunday and that means Coffee Clutch. Coffee Clutch is a Flemish, Dutch, German word that is even used in New York, of course, because it was New Amsterdam before. But it just means that I invite you over for a coffee and a little chit chat. So I have been reading a couple of books and I did a little book haul and I have some things to say afterwards. So let's get started. So 3 books I've read. I've read Jung Born in 1982. I've read In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami and The Luminous Republic by Andrés Barba. Now we are going to start with Jung Born in 1982 by Cho Nam-Joo. This is the story of a woman that is married and she has a child and a newborn, and the more and more she is pushed into the mother role, staying at home mom because she can't keep up with her work anymore and she decides to quit her job. The more she goes in a way insane. But I found this book very mediocre. I thought that the execution wasn't very well done. So she starts with an idea that she hears, that the protagonist hears voices and talks in different voices, speaks in different voices, but voices from people that have passed away, and that's can be interesting, but you have to continue that idea. You don't just start start 2 pages and then abandon the idea. That doesn't work. And also the author has so many things to say about feminism that it's more an essay and than anything else. And I always struggle with people that have a lot to say but they don't know really how to weave it in a story. So she should have written a good essay about feminism and a good story, but not 2 things in one. It didn't work for me at all. For me, I would not buy this, I would borrow it. That's a new thing I would like to use, and that is I will either say buy it, borrow it, or bugger off. If you hear background noises, that's Vita. She is discovering my plants, and everything that can be broken is already broken. So that's already out of the way. Anyway, let's continue. So yeah, no, this is at most a borrowed book. So if you're interested, there are people that really like it, but most people that I follow gave it only 3 stars. So a borrowed book. The next book is something that Ollie said I should read because it has a bit of a Patricia Highsmith vibe. It's called In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami. Not the other Murakami, Ryu Murakami. I'm not sure if they are related or not, or maybe Murakami is a very common name like Smith. I have absolutely no idea. In the Miso Soup is a story about Kenji, and Kenji is a tourist guide, but not your typical tourist guide that shows you around the city and important sites. No, he is specialized in the red light district. He is hired for 3 days between Christmas and New Year, and by an American, Frank. And first everything goes well, but he feels that Frank is a little off, and he has sometimes a look in his eyes that is creepy. And he starts to wonder if, especially the second day, if Frank isn't a killer, a murderer. because the first day they had an encounter with a couple of people, and those people are dead the next day. And that's the story. So I liked it. I thought it was very enjoyable. Was it Patricia Highsmith-ish? Not really, because Patricia Highsmith is capable of writing villains that you still feel sympathy for, and this one didn't. You couldn't feel any sympathy for him. He was too weird. But I liked it nevertheless. Would you buy it? No, I would rather borrow it next time than buy it. But if you get this in the library, you would really be happy with this. The next book is an ebook that I read, and it's The Luminous Republic by Andrés Barba. Andrés Barba is an Argentinian author and is known to be the next new thing. This is a story about a group of children, 32 children, and it reminds you a little bit of The Lord of the Flies, but told from the perspective of the adults. So the man who speaks in the novel is a social worker, and there are suddenly, out of the blue, in their city, San Cristobal, 32 children that appear, and they are between 4 and 13 years old. And they speak their own language, they steal their food, and they create havoc, and people start to exaggerate. So at the beginning, a woman said that she was mugged, but actually she wasn't, and then somebody else told that he was robbed, and that people exaggerate always to get attention, but that was very bad for the children, of course. And more they were seen as villains and the enemy, and a sort of venom that has to be erased. And so the social worker has remarkable little sympathy for the children, and it's a very, very disturbing book, especially because you learn quite early in the book that all 32 children were killed. And he tries to find a reasoning to justify the extermination of those 32 children. Is it a buy, borrow, or bugger off book? It's not a bugger off book. It's in between buy and borrow. If you buy it, and you read it, you will be happy that you've read it. So it's in between. So it was a good book. I gave it 4 stars, and it was a good book. Anyway, and then I have a little book haul. So everybody is raving about this book. It has won the Granta Award, Best of Young British Novelists. Mrs. S by Kay Patrick. What is it about? An elite boarding school where the girls kiss the marble statue of the famous dead author who used to walk the halls. A young Australian woman arrives to take up the antiquated role of matron. Within this landscape of immense privilege, in which the girls can sense the slightest weakness in those around them, she finds herself unsure of her role, her accent, and her body. Yeah. Mrs. S by Kay Patrick. Interesting. Then, I don't know where I heard about this novel. I think it's a Sean from Sean the Book Maniac. First novel prize again, by the Center of Fiction. If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga. The winning... Naga dissects the shifting, slippery shapes of belonging and power under global capitalism. Throughout, the novel brims with sparkling prose. Naga's sentences are precise and rich with bold, complex observation. I have no idea what it's about actually. But I thought, maybe. If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga. And then this one, The Late Americans by Brandon Taylor. I have no idea what it's about either. In the shared and private spaces of Iowa City, a loose circle of lovers and friends encounter, confront and provoke one another in a volatile year of self-discovery. The Late Americans by Brandon Taylor. The last one is a book that was recommended by Kate Moss. She has also a YouTube channel, Moss on a Monday. Very interesting, I always watch it. And she talked about this book, A Wild and True Relation by Kim Sherwood. And what is it about? Well, it's a thrilling feminist adventure story of smuggling and myth-making. A Wild and True Relation opens during the Great Storm of 1703 as smuggler Tom West confronts his lover Grace for betraying him to the revenue. Leaving Grace's cottage in flames, he takes her orphan daughter Molly on a ship disguised as a boy to join his crew. But Molly, or Orlando as she must call herself, will grow up to outshine all the men of Tom's company and seek revenge in a legacy all of her own. Sounds wonderful. So yeah, that's the bookish news. So the other news, well, my father is completely recovered. He's back home. But yeah, we have some really other bad news in the family. One of my little nieces has been diagnosed with a very aggressive cancer, and yeah, it'll be a very, very difficult battle to win. But yeah, and yeah, we can only hope and that everything will So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon.